So nuts and bolts club charters are us. Thanks to Phyllis Harmon for helping me with this title. It seems really neat title to go, but it's really about club building. That is why we're here tonight, is to know how to start from generating leads, where do you find clubs, all the way to chartering a club. In this learning lab tonight, we will cover the cycle of club building, from generating leads to charting a club, tips and tricks for building a club. Again, I will sprinkle out throughout, and I'm sure you all have your own things to share. Liana, for example, I hope to hear something from Liana tonight. And then, of course, resources available, because, guys, since August 25th, 20 districts are now allowed to build online clubs. That makes a big difference, because now you could build clubs with membership from all over the world. That's awesome, if you ask me. We have a club right now that has a member from Toronto, Canada. We have a member from the East Coast and a member from Maryland, from New Hampshire. That Toastmaster, that's not a new club, but I was a party in building that club. So before we move on, let me ask you a question. Why do you want to start a Toastmasters Club? What is the reason? Please take a moment, write down your thoughts on chat, and then Lori can let us know what that would be, what your answers are. Lori, do we have something? Muted.
Yes, we do. They help build the joy of Toastmasters to more people. Some want to receive their DTM.
Mm-hmm.
We want to share the program with others to get new potential district officers, and building new clubs because they are fun and they help others.
Thank you, Lori, for that. Exactly what I have listed, it seems. So why do we build a club? Spread the joy. Toastmasters, for me personally, it is about that. I do have my distinguished Toastmaster, but that was the reason why I really helped. I was an area director. My division director at that time showed me the way from where I was as a brand new district leadership all the way to getting my distinguished Toastmaster. I was in a hurry to get it. That's why I volunteered. I still remember those days when Eric, club growth director at that time, would send emails to everyone. Say, hey guys, we're having a demo meeting. I need help with a Toastmaster, a table topics master, a timer, a speaker, an evaluator. I remember volunteering. It's like, hey Eric, I had time in those years. I think way back in 2015. It also education and leadership skills. That's really an important part. I was saying earlier on that if I don't do these presentations, I will stagnate. Toastmasters really is a learning lab. It is a way for us to practice speaking, practice leading, organizing. And that's really, part of why I want to continue to actually start a club. The other part of it is that, as I'm driving home, there's a church close by. And every time I pass by, once a week, they change their sign on their billboard. And I said, I need to start a club there because of the billboard signs. It did happen. I have not built the club, but I have put in this seed of thought for the pastor. There was a concert of the community of the church. Afterwards, I talked to him, with masks and everything, and I said, Pastor, I'm interested in building a club here. Perhaps we can talk about it at some point. He said, okay. I gave him my old card. I still have my cards from when I was a part of the trio. Said, here's my email, my phone number. And I continually do that. Even Stephen, who is my husband, does it all the time in his work. He gives out my cards wherever he is. We learn new skills. Marketing, for example, I'm not big on marketing until club growth director, and I had to do cold calls. For example, I learned a lot in doing that. I thought that I was not marketing, but when you start talking about Toastmasters, the way I talk about it from authenticity, from my own personal experience, it comes out, and you actually have a great time talking to human resources manager or people who are there to help build clubs in their corporations or companies. And of course, sponsorship credit towards a TTM. So thank you everyone for participating. The next slide is Okay, so now you know exactly why you want to build a club. You want to get your DPM, it's something you want to do, but where do you find leads and prospects? Where are they coming from? Luckily for us, the online club is now available. I know PR Masters Chartered is a specialty club for people interested in public relations, for example. Tell me a story. It's a club. It's geared towards storytelling. Feedbackers is a club geared towards evaluation. We have a Coach Masters Club that is geared towards coaches, for example. We have the Toastmasters for speaking for professionals, geared towards people who speak for a living. So your own interest, for example, we have people here interested, very fun with dogs, for example. Perhaps you could start a club called the Bark Masters. Why not, right? A Bark Masters would be good because it's a play of words. There are people in Toastmasters who are barking all the time. They're not necessarily dogs, but meaning that, Thompson, for example, she could technically start a club and put it out there with the rest of the world who are interested. It could be dog walkers, veterinarians, anybody who loves dogs. So that is a personal interest. You could start a club in photography. I was hoping Tom was here. Tom is interested in tomatoes. In our Timber Talkers meeting, he always has a tomato background. You can start a club called Growing in Toastmasters. It's all about master gardeners, for example. The online clubs is now a possibility for everybody. You can check with current members. Maybe they're thinking about starting a club. You can, connect with them. Your neighbors, you love your Toastmasters so much that you talk about it constantly. And your neighbor said, I may want to check. Perhaps they could bring into their workplace, perhaps in their church, perhaps in their community centers, things that you can do, right? Workplace, a possible club split. There are clubs, for example, that are too big. They're like 60 members. And that is a possible thing to do. It's going to be a tough one in many ways because some people don't want to leave their clubs, but that is still a possible way to start another club. Of course, our club growth director, Jim Robinson, who is our contact here in District 7, he gets leads from the world headquarters as well. And then, are there any other places that we can start a club? Anyone, please write it down on the chat, and Lori can then let us know what those other not mentioned. I'm sure there are. Target opportunities, right? Okay, Lori, do we have any?
One comes up as the Rotary.
Okay, yes. Thank you for bringing the Rotary, because there has been a partnership this past year with the Rotarians, actually, and partnering with Toastmasters. I think the president of Rotary, president of Toastmasters got together and have that. We do have a big Rotary promotional information, so Google that and you will have that. That is also a good place to build. Yes, Lori?
Any town with a McDonald's.
Yes.
If you can have a McDonald's, you can have a Toastmasters Club.
Thank you. Exactly.
And you can have your meeting right there at McDonald's. So.
Yes. Wonderful suggestion, because we do, if you look at it from that point of view, we are like a franchise. Each club is its own legal entity. You all know that. I'm sure you do. It has its own tax identification number. So yes, it's like a franchise, and why not, right? And
Emilie?
Yes.
When thinking about corporate clubs, one thing that has started to happen recently is that corporations that are more distributed have now been able to do online clubs. And so they've been thinking about that more. There's one that we're having the charter. We're having a demo meeting for a club next week that is because they are able to do it online. They're actually distributed over multiple states, but they can bring everyone together online.
Wonderful, Jim. I'm so glad to see you here. Anybody who needs help, there is a person. Thank you. Good to hear that. Target opportunities, communities over 10,000 people, even actually 2,500. We used to have a member, Kathy, who used to be a club growth director as well, started a club in a place on the coast. And they did not have a lot of people, but she managed to start a club with 20 people. Corporations over 150 people, not necessarily the, because you could have a company with 40 people, it can still start a club. It depends on the champions inside the company. Again, this is a benchmark, not necessarily the case. So the question is the what and the who questions. What kind of club? What type of platform? What are the necessary requirements? Who can assist? So these are the questions, and I have to say that a lot of this information that I have tonight came out of the how to build a Toastmasters Club. It's a step-by-step guide from Toastmasters International. It's a document that's available to everybody to download if we're interested in building a club. So let's start with what kind of club. So we have two, right? So it's either a corporate club or a community club. We all know a corporate club is affiliated with a sponsor and attracts membership from its employee base. We have a lot in Toastmasters, Fortune 500s. We have Toastmasters clubs with Coca-Cola company, with the Boeing company, with AT&T, Google, you name it. We have companies everywhere. Again, that's also another place, for example, to find a lead. If you want to know corporate clubs that we have in Toastmasters, you can email corporate relations and ask for that list. And for example, then you can take a look at it, see if there are clubs in other parts of the country, in the world, and then you want to bring that club. They have a satellite office here in Oregon, or wherever you are, you can actually then try to work and start a club by doing that. So a corporate club can either be a closed club or an open club. Closed club because it might be for proprietary reasons. We have Fleur Club. I know the pandemic, they're on hold right now, if I'm not mistaken, but it took forever and it took a while, many ways to get access. Nobody could just go in. Even the area director has to make prior arrangements to attend. It's a closed club because of, reasons, the company's reason. It's an open club. It's a club where the employees and community members actually join. We chartered a club called Northwest Pacific Sciences Center. That club chartered in 3 weeks. Imagine that. I was talking to Lori about it. That club chartered in 3 weeks. Why? Because we have people in our organization in District 7. We had Krista Colway, we had Cynthia and Lori Norris that helped with that club. Unitas is a club that Lori was involved with. I think that's her company club. They chartered probably in a couple of months as well. So a community club is open to anyone, not tied to a sponsoring organization. You all know that we have many clubs. Typically, they're held at local restaurants, churches, libraries, hospitals, community centers, and now online, right? Friday Fun Masters actually chartered online as a club. Sunset Talkers recently chartered. Daniel Brewer was the person responsible for that. They just had a chartering event. I think it was last week. So what's the difference? The corporate club, they say it's easier to charter because you already have the base, right? But it's also one of those clubs where it could easily fall apart. They said the lifespan is 3 years. For some clubs, depending on the situation. Community club, it's harder to charter, but not necessarily because of the online component. And when you think about it, it's really, they said that 7 years. I don't know about these benchmarks or these lifelines, but that's really what they call it, 3 years versus 7. There are clubs that have been around forever, 50 years, 60 years, 70 years, they've been there. So it's not really necessarily true, but I just wanted to bring that out there. Okay, so what kind of club, corporate or community? What platform to use? And because I worried about copyright issues, make sure that we give credit to where credit is due, I had to pull out something, an in-person club. That is my club, Oregon City. It's the Wagontangs Toastmasters Club. We used to meet at the Oregon City Library. Of course, we moved when the pandemic hit, just like many, many clubs do. And so you could either have an in-person club, an online club, or a hybrid club. And I pulled that picture because Daniel Brewer's Sunset Talkers just had a charter celebration. There we have Jim on the far left corner, and Eldred, our district director, on the far right, and Daniel standing up, and PJ, our immediate past district director, they were in there. And then Lori, of course, is the photo bomber in the middle. Actually, Lori is there, a hybrid meeting. I know Carissa has been busy promoting this, these pictures around, but this is a hybrid club in many ways. And so you have to think, when you start thinking about building clubs, right? Should I do it in person, the brick and mortar? I know the pandemic will end at some point, and we're going to go back to the in-person meeting. I miss that. But the online is also another way to get people across the world, across the globe, to build clubs that we've never thought we can build before. And of course, the hybrid has some technological challenges, but it is also the way to go. I know there's a question, is it hybrid? Is it blended? In Toastmasters parlance, it's really hybrid. In the speaking world, they've been calling it blended clubs. Whether we're going to go that direction and call it that, I don't know. At this point, when you Google hybrid clubs in Toastmasters, it will come out as hybrid. The next one is then, so what are the requirements for all these clubs, regardless of whether it's a corporate club, a community club, whether it's an online, in-person, a hybrid clubs? You must have 20 members to charter. That's very important. The clubs must meet at least 12 times a year. So we have clubs that meet once a month. Feedbackers, DR Masters. Those are clubs that pop in my head, once a month. Regular meetings must be conducted online and in person. I had to change some of the wording. The How to Build a Toastmasters Club document has not been updated to include online information. Members must give speeches and receive verbal evaluations. I know some of you say, but there are clubs that are not doing this. Each club is different. They must have, you all know the 3 components: prepared speeches, table topics, and evaluations. And it really is different. And members must be afforded the opportunity to develop and practice leadership skills. That's why we have officers in clubs, right? So we have to do all these things. These are the requirements. Did I miss anything here? Anyone? Okay, the next slide is, so who can assist? Let's say, for example, you are a brand new member in Toastmasters. You're not up to get a DTM. You just wanted to start a club in your community. Just wanted to start a club in your church. You want to start a club in your company. Assist you. Well, you could recruit up to 2 sponsors and recruit up to 2 mentors. So the sponsorship is really where it's helpful, because we have Toastmasters in our midst who are interested in getting their Distinguished Toastmaster Award. That's the highest award in Toastmasters. They can help you if you are not helped, to build the membership, to submit the application, organize the club, charter fee, generate interest, the demo meeting, for example, complete all the forms, submit all that. So a sponsor really's job is to start from the very beginning, to help you start that club all the way to chartering. The mentors come in when the club is chartered. You can have up to 2 mentors. When I actually started as a mentor way back when I was an area director years ago, I was part of the demo meeting this was a club in the Pearl District. I volunteered to be part of the demo meeting, the demonstration meeting, to start the things rolling. And then I was interested in mentoring the club. So I was there from the very beginning. I was not the sponsor, but I was there from the very beginning. It said, for a mentor, you have to serve 6 months to up to 12 months. I actually stayed for a good 14 months, more than a year. I stayed with that club. Kathleen Tolley, who was my division director at the time, and I actually stayed for quite a while with that club. Just because I had more time, it's not necessarily the case for other people. They have their sick, they have another life outside of Toastmasters, for example, and they could not part with another 6 months of their time. And that's okay. That's why Toastmasters said 6 months to 12 months. So you will have 2 sponsors and up to 2 mentors. So no worries about starting a club. The next one is, this is the biggest thing. Now that you have figured out your why, building a club, you know where to build it. It's an online club, for example, or a in-person club and then you know what type of club it is, what platform you're using. Now the question is, how do you advertise this club? Because it really, the advertising part is the most important thing. If you have an idea and nobody knows about it, then nobody knows, right? You have to generate interest from the corporate and community. So for the whole pitch idea, you have to make sure you know how to do that. Our club growth director, again, is here. Jim Robinson, that would help you from our district. You're not doing it alone. If you're starting a corporate club, the help from the human resources is very helpful. If you have a champion, the VP of operations, for example, and I have to talk about Toast of the Old Town. This is the company, the Northwest Educational Association. When Hillary Hunt wanted to start this club, she reached out to me, and actually years before, Liana, our past district director, and I think we have an IB, an international director, who came to visit here, and they visited NWEA. But it took years for it to start a club. So when I came in as a club growth director, Hillary Hunt reached out to me. We talked about it, and then she said, "Okay, I'm interested." Luckily for her, they have a vice president who was a member of Toastmasters at that time. Oh, I think a member before. So she knew the value of Toastmasters. She became a champion, and it actually made it easier to start. And before hybrid, online, and all that, NWEA, or the Toast of the Old Town, member of a club in the downtown division, is actually a hybrid club. That club was started pretty much as a hybrid club. They have an office, not an office, a conference center or conference room. It's all wired for an online meeting, a hybrid meeting. We have a smaller conference room. We have microphones and everything. And I remember when I attended the meetings, they have 8 people on the wall on the high definition from all over the country. So they were already a hybrid. This was in 2017 because the company itself is set up that way. The headquarters is in Portland, and they have employees from all over the country. So that is considered a hybrid club. And of course, Hillary chartered it. She was also our speaker. She had a great story to tell. She used to be, and it was a great way to do it. And the VP of operations, of course, was there to help all along. I met her when we gave an award, the following year. For community clubs, you have location is always an issue for community clubs because if you don't have all the money, you have to make sure that you have a good location that is accessible to everybody, right? And of course, you have to advertise this whole thing regardless. If it's a community club, use the social media, Facebook, Meetup, local papers, bulletin boards, include everyone, word of mouth, local chambers, mayors, for example. Patrick Locke out of Northern Division has a very good relationship with the Vancouver mayor. That's something, starting a club, anything, he actually involves the mayor, which is a very good thing because then it adds gravitas, I guess that's the word, to the chartering itself. For the corporate club, and I said use HR. HR can help because they have, they can advertise the club. And I know sometimes people say, well, what about the training? You have a training department, you have to work that out because you want to be on the side of chartering these clubs. You have to make sure. I had enough experience with some corporate clubs where there are some issues. Those things needs to be ironed out for you to do that. Did I miss anything? Are there anything as far as advertising? Please take a moment and jot down something on the chat. Add something as far as the advertising. I know this is not an exhaustive list, but please feel free because I do have an example. Lori, yes.
Yes, Miss Emilie, I went to my HR in February and I asked them, do you have a Toastmasters Club or have you ever thought about building one? And she says, no, why don't you do it? And so be careful if you, when you ask that question, because they will ask you, yes, you could have a club, but you have to do it. So that's what I did. But
wonderful. Do we have other people that have other stories?
Oh, I could mention for the
Yes.
Assured Partners Club that is having the demo meeting next week. It was something similar to Lori's story, where Deborah said that she was on a conference call talking about their training programs and what training resources they had available for their people. And she mentioned she's a member of Toastmasters. She mentioned, well, why don't we have a Toastmasters Club? And so then it became her project to form the Toastmasters Club.
There you go. Make sure you're ready. If not, you could go reach out to Jim, because Jim would know people that are interested. You have to make sure the pitch to know.
And it's definitely different. And I know that you know this, Miss Emily, when you talk to your corporate club versus a community club, because this is considered a leadership building program inside a leadership development inside of our company. So you have reading, I think Eldred talked about that a little bit back in the chat about reading Pat Johnson's book.
Yes.
Because it really makes a difference. I mean, we don't talk about clubs or officers or things like that. We have to put it all into perspective of a leadership building program.
Thank you, Lori, for saying the things you've said, because I do have as a resource the book by Pat, and I do have it here in my slides. This is the book. I have highlights and all that. This is very helpful. This is why, because there is such a thing as corporate speak. And when you are going into the HR, for example, you don't talk about we're doing evaluations, or they're not doing evaluations in companies. They're actually doing performance reviews. I have my friend who every time she lives in New York City, she gets an evaluation once a year. She cries on the phone and said, Emily, I had a terrible performance evaluation. My supervisor was not very good at, with me as far as what she said I need to work on. If you are in Toastmasters, this tell or quote unquote, explain the whole idea of the evaluation is that this will help your supervisors practice the art of giving those performance reviews where it's, yeah.
And Emily, I need to get off for another meeting, but I wanted to mention real quick that you mentioned that people contact me, but most likely I'll be putting in touch with Sherry Perry as well, because Sherry is our club extension chair, and she knows all of this corporate talk, because she actually put together a club at her business. And so when she's working with other potential corporate clubs, she's talking the same language with them. She knows them. She works well with them. And so she's a tremendous person for our club extension chair this year.
Thank you. Wonderful, Jim. I do have Jim's email. It's cgd@b7toastmasters.org. Any questions, anything, please send it to Jim, and then he can help with marketing materials. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Ms. Emily. And there's also another question in the chat.
Okay.
And so I'll read it to you and you can answer, please. Explain 20 members, 17 to be new, not members of another club, unless it's a specialty club.
Yeah. So here's the thing. It depends again what it is. So if it's an advanced club, you still need 20 members. But the advanced club could be, because you have to be a member of other clubs, that you are all already members of other clubs, meaning that it's a dual member club. That means that you're not paying the $20. We'll talk about this a little bit down the road when we look at the forms. You could have at least, if it's a brand new club, 17 brand new members, brand spanking new, and then 3 members are dual members. Those are really members who are members of other clubs. So those are the 20. Again, it depends on whether it's an advanced club, it's a brand new club. That really makes a difference. Did I answer the question? Lori, is that the question that we have?
I think that's the question. If I'll just...
yeah, that's fine. We can come back to it when we...
Yeah, thank you.
Or if you want to say something, type in anytime, my dear.
I think we're good for now.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. I see. Now on to... Okay. I wanted to show this one because I was so impressed. They got me to join. I have my picture in there. This is the PR Masters. This is a club a specialty club for public relations. You know, learning publicity for your club and even for you. They are so good about their publicity. They actually, I think it took them 4 or 5 months to charter their club. There's a group of people who met at the TLI I think it was a winter TLI. They got together, they started. But I was so impressed by the way they did a lot of their publicity. They have members from all over the world. They have members from different backgrounds of Toastmasters. It's a great club. It was the drive. They had Facebook campaigns. They did a fantastic job. So if you need help in terms of reaching out, definitely check out PR Masters. They have all their sessions. And I'm a member of the club. I'm promoting the club because it's a helpful tool that we have in our district. So that's advertising. Now on to the demo meeting or kickoff meeting. And I have to talk a little bit, some people call it demo meeting in the Toastmasters parlance. It's really called demo meeting. Most call it kickoff meeting. And there's a reason why, because this is not just a demo meeting. This is the first meeting of that club. So that's why they call it, they're kicking off the first meeting. So let's not quibble about it. It is a demo club or a kickoff meeting. It's the same thing, right? So when we talk about, okay, I can't get my slide to work. Conduct a demonstration. Jim mentioned something about having all the resources that we have. Again, we have, TI has all the demonstration meeting resources, how to build Toastmasters Club. We'll itemize it for you if you download that. There are promotional materials, and I will talk a little bit with the resources because there's a brand new resources that came out. I think it was published in April this year, but I saw it and it was, I saw the link in July. So it's a brand new thing. It has like hyperlinks. We'll talk about it in the resources. So different styles of meeting. Again, for me personally, because I helped charter many of the clubs. I attended many of the demo meetings and part of the demonstration team. District 7 style in person, meaning that, and we'll look at an agenda, but there's also a Rick Furbish method, which is another method that I really believe will work. I have not done it, but we'll look at it in a minute. And then the online demo, of course, it's the same thing. You bring the energy, even if it's not in person. So the District 7 sample agenda, let's look at that because, and this is one of those things that, I got this when I started. It's an hour meeting, demo meeting. Half an hour is on the condensed version. So you have an opening remarks from the, let's say, Hillary Hunt. This is the NWEA, which is the Toast of the Old Town Club. She did an opening because it was open to all the employees. And then the Toastmaster was Liana. There was a timer. And Hillary and I worked, we consulted on that speech, and she did really a fabulous speech. It was hard. It touched my heart when she gave that speech, even when we were, working on it. The table of topics master, I guess my name was there, and then a general evaluator. So the first half hour when you do this condensed version, that's really about the meeting. It gives them a taste. So this could be used, seasoned, big name speaker, or should we use somebody who's just like all of us? Well, it really depends because you want to have a speaker that could inspire. You could also have a sense of humor because what did Ralph Smedley said, we all learn in moments of fun, paraphrasing there. And then the next half is the Q&A. Then you start, people ask questions about the meetings and all that. And also, it's also for planning for the next meeting. It's very important. You can't have a very good demo meeting. Everybody's excited. Everybody's rah, 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 and then there's no follow-up. Right, Lori? The demo, because Lori mentioned to me about the Northwest, right? Well, you tell us the story about the Northwest fisheries.
Thank you, Miss Emilie. That was just an amazing club charter. They came to me like the first or second week in January, and they said, we want to charter a club. But they couldn't hold their demo meeting until like almost the very end of January. And so PJ was there and Cleon set up the demo meeting. Leanna was there. We had a great demo meeting, and they needed just like 2 more people to charter their club. And so I asked them when is going to be their next meeting, and they hadn't thought about it. So putting the next meeting out, which was the next day, they got I think ended up like maybe 10 more people chartering with that club. So it just makes sure that when you have your demo meeting, that you schedule your follow-up meeting right away. So people's interest will stay excited about building that club.
Thank you, Lori. So that's really part of it. All the demo meeting that I have attended usually follow this agenda, online or otherwise. The other method that I've learned and I've heard is the refurbish method. I know when Tad Henry, our advisor, past Region 1 advisor team, he talked about it. I've heard so many things about refurbish, and I will show you a little bit. There is a YouTube video that you can see. He was training Toastmasters members on how to start clubs using this one. This is not an urban legend. They actually chartered 3 clubs in one demo meeting. 3 clubs. They had 135 people. This is the HSBC company. And the way they did it is that they have a different one. So when people come in, they give them a 3x5 card and ask them to write something, an experience that they have that nobody knows, right? And then they give it back to Rick or to whoever is doing the kickoff meeting, and then they forget about it. So later on, so you have a speaker that's inspiring everybody, and then you have an evaluation, and then now you have the table topics. So he brings out the 3x5 card, starts looking at it, then he goes, okay. He rates it, and then who do you think this person is? Maybe that person did a skydiving and something happened, almost died, but people start pointing to their coworkers that they think is the one who does all these daredevil acts, right? But voila, it's not. It's somebody quiet, finally found out who this person is. Everybody's having a great time, laughing, howling. And then he goes and, won't you come up here and tell us the story? Well, the story is already familiar to that person because he's been telling his friends, everybody who wants to listen, his loved ones about the story, right? So he knows what to do. He's not afraid. So he goes there in front of everybody, tells them the story. It's guys. This is the way Rick Furbish really, the way his style is. It's a win. I've not done this. And then, of course, then everybody, he calls probably 10, 15 people. So now they have the buy-in. It's not hard, part of it. And at the same time, during the presentation of the speech as well, he encouraged everybody to also write their comments and their notes so that they can also evaluate. So there's just not listening, but actually there's that person was good at, what they could improve upon. It's a different style of demo meeting, and I've never done it. I'm excited to try it one of these days because I think it would work very well. So they chartered that, and then the close of the sale, it's very important. You can have a demo meeting, but if you're not going to close the sale, then what's the point? The sale, for example, this is when he said we're starting a new. We could only have 20 members. The first 20 members to submit their applications now will be part of that club. Remember how big it is to be a member of the charter. You are a charter member. If this club stays for the next 50 years, your name will be forever there. So the value of being a charter member is really, explained to them. Of course, you're already excited because now you've already spoken about you want to sign up. And this is how they sign up. Out of that 135 people, they had 3 clubs. Not an urban legend, it happened. So we can technically do that in our district as well. So that is the demo meeting. And the next, where I'm here. Okay, so the PR master, the demonstration meeting, ask for the sale. So now we've done the paperwork follows, right? We have that agenda. Half of it is you have to make sure that you bring, the membership. I know it's kind of different online because you can't just ask somebody to sign the paperwork and give it to you. Don't worry about the payments. We'll follow up on that. But still can be done. We have chartered PR Masters. We have chartered Unitas, the Northwest Fisheries Sciences Center. We have chartered this club via online. So there are really 7 forms to do. And I just put it in here. It's very easy, no worries. Step-by-step guide from Toastmasters. Jim's team will help you as well. I reviewed a lot of this in person with the people chartering clubs. Lori has done it. PJ has done it as well. So everybody has really taken care of you. Don't worry about all this, right? So application to organize a Toastmasters Club, that's the most important thing in the very beginning. Why? Because if you want to use the Toastmasters branded materials, if you have submitted your application to organize, which is, you have to pay 125 charter fee for this application to organize, and you get a kit. I don't know now with online, I think that they, pretty much everything is online these days, but you used to get a kit. And I'm sure we're probably going to go back. I don't know at this point when. And how do you actually get? So if you're a corporation, if you're a corporate club, you can ask HR. Perhaps the company is willing to pony up 125, or even the 20 new member fee. They can, and then the members pay the $45 for every 6 months. Or if it's a community club, you can actually, take 125 divided by members, tack that on. So somebody might use their credit card and pay the 125. You get the application to organize. You get a number, a club number, of a world for you, because now you have the Easy Speak or Free Toast Host. These are websites that can help you promote your demo meeting this coming club. So that's very important. The form, the membership charter application, that's very important, regardless of whether you are a dual member. For every club that charters, you have to do a charter membership application. To do, no problem there. Form 4, chapter charter club officer information. It's very important in that demo meeting to get a group of people to start meeting regularly, because you need to have a set of officers. As I said, it's a legal entity. You need to have, at the least, you have to have the president, the secretary, and one of the VPs. If you can have, best to have the 7 officers, but the 3, the president and the secretary, sign the paperwork. There are places where they sign, so it's very important to have the officers. The club informations, club constitution, and then the addendum of standard club options. Here is where, if this club is only open to employees, or if this club has certain requirements, you have to have achieved a certain level of educational requirement, or it's only for program. Technically, you cannot really, so you can use this club option. So this is the paperwork. I do have a question. When you did, with your experience, what made it easier for you to do the charter forms, guys, online or in person? Put it on chat line, or, say something about it, because we're almost done.
Miss Emilie, I do have a story to tell you. When
Yes.
we chartered our clubs last year, we sent all of our documents to PJ, and he did a final review over them. But I have to tell you this thing about what I did for Unitas. Now, I've always been, as you know, in Division H, and was a division director for Sunset Division. So when they asked me on the form which division that I am working on, I said division. I just instinctively put Division H, but this actually was like going into Area 71, I believe. And so what they do, it just passes by. We didn't even realize, PJ didn't realize it either. But when they actually chartered the club, they put an Area 71 in Division H. And so it's had this whole new area out there. And we had to, PJ had to call them and say, would you please take Area 71 off of Division H?
Yes, the good thing about it is that things can be fixed, guys. Nothing is that hard on stone. So no worries because the club will be realigned at the next, cycle. So no worries about it. Thank you, Lori, for sharing that. But that's really part of the thing. And then once you charter, once the paperwork is submitted, or all the payments, for example, I have to mention something, because I have to mention Scott Stevenson. He was the treasurer of the Merrillhurst Club. And this club was really instrumental during my time as a club growth director. When we have community clubs, even corporation did not support, or did not provide the money, and they have all this money collected, they don't have a bank account yet, I would call on Scott as a club sponsor. So you can have up to two club sponsors. He was willing, the club was willing to take that on, meaning that they could take the payments, deposit in their bank, and write the check for that club. That can be done. don't worry about, we don't have a bank account. How do we do this? So that's something I wanted to mention. The next one is then once everything is done, okay, why is that not working? Is the celebration. Yeah, I know, I have to make sure the copyright issues here, but I don't have copyright issues with Eldred and with PJ. They had club celebration with Daniel Brewer's Club, the Sunset Talkers. How was that experience, Eldred?
That was a lot of fun.
Yes, it was hybrid meeting for
Yeah.
what I. So wonderful. So Eldred, as our district director, presented the charter to the club charter, and PJ, as our immediate, I think, give out membership charter of a member. And look how excited that person is. See that, PJ? Every time I look at that, it's like, oh my God, I'm a member of a new club of talkers. And if that club will stay for the next 50 years, isn't that great to be a member? Right, PJ?
Yes. And may I take a moment and respond to a question Tamsin put in chat?
Sure. Go ahead, PJ.
She asked specifically about when you charter an online club, what area and division do you assign it to?
Okay.
And I will give you my experience. When I started Babylon Toastmasters Club, we met in area 50 something. It was in Northeast Portland. But I was a member of Silicon Forest in Beaverton. So when I chartered that club, my area and division in Beaverton got credit for starting a new club, and it was put into Sunset Division. But then July 1st, it was realigned over into Columbia Division, where it physically resided. So we would do a similar thing with online clubs. The person who is really sponsoring, really driving, is going to get credit by you assigning that club to their area. And of course, the area is it's automatically determining the division, except in the case of Unitas, where we had a little problem, where we had a conflict between the area and the division. But so you would assign it to the area where you want that person to get credit, and then you would realign it at the end of the year as needed. With an online club, you would probably leave it where it was, where you put it. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, that is a very good answer, PJ. I would have answered it the same way. Thank you very much.
Okay, and she just says thank you, so I guess I got it. All right,
yes,
good.
Thank you, PJ. So charter celebration. Now the resource. I was talking about how to build a Toastmasters Club. It's item 121. Again, this is a step-by-step guide. Download it. Online is not there yet, I'm sure. I think this was 2019. It's not in there, but I know it's part of our governing documents now, right? So then I'm just trying to go quickly here. The next one is the club marketing guide. Wow, this is something I did not know existed until I think it was published somewhere in April, but it was somebody shared it to me in July. This is a very guide, not only for building your clubs now, existing clubs, but really it's for anything you're doing, including sponsoring clubs with corporations, with community clubs. They have hyperlink on the flyer icon. It brings out like probably 10 or so different resources, brochures the same way for events, corporate clubs, web tools, branding, and conversion. So just Google Club Marketing Guide and you will see this and look at it. It's a world of information on your fingertips. So I just want to mention that. The next one is the step-by-step handbook suggested, well, the one from Pat Johnson. I remember when I think John was our district director, Pat Johnson came, we ordered a bunch of this one. And I remember also when I was the district, ordered a number of them. I hope we still have them, but in the district. So reach out to Jim, reach out to Lori. Lori is Lori, do you want to say something? Or I am looking at yours. You don't have, okay. So we have this handbook. It's very important. If you borrow mine, but we start with first, you can order it is also in Toastmasters, right? The next one resource that is very helpful, trusted, the features, benefits, and values. This is a 2017 version. I hope that they will, come up with a new version, but that's something that in person, we give out, we put on the chairs, the Toastmasters magazine, features, benefits, and values, all the other informations, the agenda, and all that when you do those demo meetings. One is, this is the handbook out by Rick Furbish. He was the past region advisor, I think Region 8, somewhere in Florida. This is a very good one. You know, I look for it. It's really helpful. I want to charter a club using this method because I think it would be awesome to try this method. I know if you know George Marshall, he's a big proponent of this. Todd Henry, who was our past Region 1 advisor, he was also a proponent of this. This works, guys. So from what I heard. And then there it is. You know, Google it, a demo meeting by Rick Furbish, and it's really hear it from him. It's a resource. And then let me see. This is another one I found. Past International Director Susie Proctor out of, I think, District 32. There is an HR very helpful. She has started a lot of clubs, corporate and community clubs with her district. The good thing about this one page is that it's you know, the skills that you learn: listening, critical thinking, giving feedback, time management, planning and implementing and delegating. Let's see, developing your facilitation skills, which we're doing now. You know, motivating people, mentoring, team building. This is one resource that, to me personally, is very helpful. When you're building a club and you're trying to, you know, put up a pitch or sell it. So that's pretty much in a nutshell. If you are starting a club, it's not that hard. Again, you know, you have to know your why, because there might be time when it's taking a while to charter a club and, you know, dark skies may come and overwhelm you. It's not that hard, guys. You need to figure out where to find that club or where to find a lead. Then you have to make sure you know what type. Is it corporate, community? Is it going to be, what's the platform? Person is going to be hybrid. And then you have to make sure requirements. And then you have to do the advertising, right? You have to make the point, put it out there. Then you need to make sure that you have the demo meeting. It's an exciting demo meeting. Get everybody sign up right away, because when people are so, you know, excited about it, that's the time that you really need to get them to commit and, you know, close the sale. Then of course you have to do the paperwork, which is help with our District 7 Club Growth Director and his team. And then you celebrate. And that's really all there is to do. It's not really very hard. The people who have chartered online clubs, not hard. Right, Lori? It's not hard.
No, it's not hard, Miss Emily. When you showed, Emily shared with me a video by Jim Coley,
Oh, yes.
the past international director, and he did a lot of work in building new clubs. And so I watched his demo or his on YouTube several times,
Mhm.
and it actually showed him picking up the phone
Mhm.
and calling 2 or 3 people and cold calling these
Yeah.
people.
Yes.
And then he turned to the audience and he said, he paused for a second, he goes, "See, I'm still here.
Thank
I
you.
haven't fainted or died or anything yet,"
Yeah.
you know, because, and that gave me the confidence to do, to reach out and call people when I saw his video, YouTube. So,
Thank you, Lori, because I remember as a club growth director, I did a lot of cold calls myself. One of the clubs we chartered, Albertson's Club, was out of a cold call. I had list of, you know, places to call. I called this club. I established a rapport with the secretary, and the secretary said, "Oh my God, I think that my boss might be interested in this. She's talked about Toastmasters." I said, "Could you please connect me?" And I talked to the HR manager. She was the manager. And then when Jim Coley, the past director for Region 1, came in, we visited the club. We visited the company, and that sealed the deal, actually. So that was out of a cold call, and we chartered the club. We had members of our district that got their DPMs because they mentored. I think it was Lisa Hatton and Don Johnson got their mentorship that brand new club. So it's not hard, even cold calls. Just, you know, look out for resources and do it. The marketing part of it, I'm not good at that, but I actually learned how to find ways to do it. Watch Jim Coley's cold call YouTube video. So any other insights, thoughts, guys, before?
yes, Miss Emily.
Yes.
Please,
Oh, yes, please. Yes.
Leanna has a question. And
Okay.
so, Leanna, go ahead.
I wanted to share as past district director, and when I was club growth director, we chartered 12 clubs that year. So just a few points to keep in mind and learning from, I guess, mistakes that were made over the years. One is be sure and talk at your demo meeting that Toastmasters costs money.
Yes.
And begin collecting those dues right away. Eldred and I were at a demo meeting one night. It was kind of their second or third, and no guests came. And I said, well, have you talked about money? No, we don't do that. And it was many, many, many moons later before that club chartered. So definitely talk about money and start collecting dues. That way people have skin in the game.
Yes. Yeah.
Another one is be sure before you send in charter papers that you have one of the trio members review them. We had a Toastmaster started a club, and she didn't know what she didn't know, and they were sent back to her 3 times. When typically, if somebody in the know has the opportunity to review them, they go in correctly the first time, and there's no delay.
I suggest several people review them.
Thank you. Yes.
More is better.
Mhm.
And here is one of the biggies. And that is if anybody has the notion to start a club, or if you get an inkling that somebody is trying to start a club, make sure that Jim Robinson knows about it. Because people have excellent intentions, but they don't know what they don't know. And they also don't realize the resources that the district brings to the table.
Thank you, Leanna.
And make things happen so much quicker. When I was area director, when John Rodkey was district director, I went to visit one of my clubs, and a Toastmaster was talking about the club he was going to charter. And he didn't even consider talking to the district. And so I was able to bring the district into the picture and get his demo meeting organized, helping with his paperwork. So I think that is really important too, because you can make things turn over much more quickly when you've got that knowledge and those resources come to bear to help the Toastmaster starting the new club.
Thank you very much, Leanna. I know we are 7:30 now. I will stick around, and if there are other questions, but Lori, I know there are some informations, the Learning Lab, it's once a month. You want to talk briefly? If you need to go, please do. I know we stick on time, we start on time, we end on time. I'm ending my presentations, and I'm going to stick around. If you want to stick around, we can have further discussions. I also would like for the chat to be saved for me so I could look at it, and I need to send information to everybody. Thank you, Lori. I'm going to give this back to you. You can talk about your Learning Lab.
All right. Thank you, Miss Emilie. And thank you so much for your presentation tonight. It was truly excellent, and I knew it was going to be so. And thanks everyone for coming tonight and being a part of this presentation. We're going to have Learning Labs on the first Wednesday of every month. So we've already had July, August, and September now. Can't believe we're already September 1st. Next month, we will have it on October 6th. It's going to be on the Pathways Mentoring, and that is going to be delivered by Dr. Gwen Abington, and who has completed the mentoring program. And so I think that's going to be a really another great learning lab. And so every month you can be looking forward to another learning lab. Also in September, we're starting the Pathways Learning Labs as well. So there's going to be actually 2 a month. So anybody that's got a question on Pathways, they can log in. It'll be the same time and same I think this is the 15th. And so always look forward to, if you've got questions, go out to that learning lab and ask for the pathways questions that you have.